Hey guys, Chris Moody here. Perfect day to show you the gap fill indicator. And these guys at Pro Trading did an absolutely fantastic job in developing this indicator. It's so visually appealing because just by glancing at it after you get used to it, you can tell everything about the gap that you can possibly want to know. Right here, we've had a gap down. Over here, I've got a few different instruments just so we can show you the ETFs, an index, some futures, currency futures, a stock, spot forex. It works on everything. But this is the spiders, and we had a gap down today, so therefore these two lines are red, showing a gap down. Right here it says today's open, gives the price, and gap down 0.67%. Gives yesterday's close, gives the half gap line and the value. You can customize these to look any way you want. So if you want a different type of line right here, a different color line, if you want the text to be a different color, all that stuff's customizable. If you don't want to see the numbers, you don't have to, but it provides you with as much or as little information as you want. Now, this purple line here is a great feature they added in, and again, that's customizable. You can make it any color you want. But what that's showing is how high we've gone up towards filling the gap. And you can see we haven't even got close to a half gap fill today. If you look at yesterday, there was a gap up, so therefore these lines are green, showing a gap up. Same information, shows how far down it came towards closing the gap, didn't even get to a half gap fill. So it gives you all that information just visually by looking at it. We can scroll back here, and right here we had a gap up because it's green. Close the gap, and if you see this yellow marker right here, that's showing exactly where the gap closed. You can set an alert on that to be alerted. Now, what it does that's very advanced is the traders that I know that are pure gap traders, I mean, that's what they do. They trade gaps for a living. They know the instruments they trade. They've broken them down. They know the percentage that they're going to fill a half gap fill, a full gap fill every day of the week, all throughout the month, after certain events, after options expiration, on the first day of the month, 2 days before the end of the month. They know all the specific details broken down. They know if it gaps up a certain percent, what percentage chance it has of filling a half gap and a full gap. And so for a true gap trader, they've got all the customizable features in there where you can say, I only want to see gaps that are over a 0.5% gap, or 2 points on a stock, or 20 points on or 20 pips on a currency. So you can set I have it set up to see every gap out there. But you can set this up to where you have specific criteria, and that's important because if you've done the research and you know exactly what you're looking for, if you're like me, when I go into the trading day, I don't want to think. So again, I'm not a professional gap trader. I have this on my chart all the time because I want to know where the market's at, because I know the tendency to fill gaps when I'm taking positions. I just want to know where that's at, if it's closed yet or not, if it's done a half gap fill, if it is just fallen from the start. All these things are important things that I want to know. But a true gap trader has the ability to, the night before, if they know if tomorrow and they're trading the S&Ps, and if the S&Ps gap up over 3 points, then they want to take that trade. And if it gaps less than 3 points, they don't want to take that trade. They can set those parameters in there. And if it gaps up less than 3 points, then the indicator won't even plot. And so they know there's not a trade. And if it meets their criteria, the indicator will plot, and they know that there's a trade there. And so if you're like me, I like to do the work outside of the market, and going into the trading day, just react, and this indicator gives you the ability to do that. Let's look at a few other things. Let's look at the index, like the Dow, and you can see right here, big gap down. Haven't really even gone up into the gap area at all today. Yesterday had a gap up, came down. You can see where it didn't even reach the midpoint line. Previous day, you can see it was a gap down because we've got red bars here, and you can see the yellow where it closed the gap. So it works on every type of instrument. If we look at the futures here, this is the Russell futures. Had a nice gap down, got a half gap fill almost a full gap fill and then fell right back down. That's actually the strongest index of the day, because if we look at the S&P futures, gap down, barely made it above the initial down gap line and has fallen from there. NASDAQ futures, the weakest of the bunch, they're taking out the lows of the day right now. But if we scroll back, and another great thing about this indicator is as much data as your data provider will let you put on a chart, this will go back in time. And there's a lot of gap indicators out there that don't go back in time. So you can go and see where the open gaps are, just see how it's reacted in history. You can go back 90 days, 180 days if you want to, depending on how much data that you can get to do your research. Let's go to a currency future. And these are just set up on the cash session, so it's not that you would necessarily do the currency future on there, but I just want to show you how it works. For currencies, you can set it up as a percentage gap that you want to, of as far as criteria that you want to see, or based on pips. And if we go to a stock, let's look at Apple. See yesterday, gap up, came down, closed the gap, got the yellow mark there, and rose from there. Today, gap down, and we are moving down. Rallying now, but it was taking out the lows of the day. So was the NASDAQ. So we're either going to have this market fall apart today, or we're going to see a nice short covering rally. But either way, I'm going to capitalize on it. So we're going to have to cut this video short. But let's go to a spot forex. And we would obviously you wouldn't use a spot forex on here. The people that the traders that I know that really trade the gaps on the spot forex is more of a Sunday night thing, and we can easily set that up for the sessions where it would just show Sunday night. And again, they know all the specifics, the pairs, how much they need to gap down. If they gap down over this amount, then it's probably not going to fill. If it gaps down within this area, there's a high percentage of that, the half gap filling and then the full gap. And so again, you can go into the week, set that up the night before, all the parameters. And if the indicator shows up, you know you've got a trade. And if it doesn't show up, then you know the trade didn't meet your criteria. So great indicator. One of my favorite that they've produced. I've seen tons of gap indicators, and this just covers every facet from the novice that just wants, like myself, that just wants to be aware of the gaps, where I can just visually look at it and know exactly what's going on, gap down, how far it's gone up, all that. And even for the pro gap trader that wants to set up specific criteria, it covers all those aspects. So you guys have a great day. I'm going to get back to trading. Wish you the best, and let me know. Just send them an email if you guys have any questions, if there's anything I can answer for you. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.